Hello and welcome. This is the Elephant Mountain race briefing coming up on February 6th at the Cave Creek Mountain Regional Park. My name is Noah Doherty. I'm the race director for the Dirt Series, so I'll be out there all day Saturday with you. We are excited to host yet another Dirt Series race here in the middle of the winter, and it looks like we're going to have some nice weather as well. If you haven't joined us before for Elephant Mountain, it's a really cool course. This course connects two regional parks. If you run the 35K, 50K, 50 mile, you will go from the Cave Creek Regional Park and up and over Godon, leaving the park, and then heading up the Maricopa Trail all the way to Spur Cross Conservation Area, which is a really neat area, or you actually cross Cave Creek. And there should be water since we've had rain. My guess is there'll be water there, which will be cool. And then you 50 milers will have multiple river crossings from Spur Cross heading north on Trail 4. I believe it's like 4 crossings, maybe more though, and hopefully there's water in those as well. Just keep that in mind as you guys head up there. Back to the race day schedule. Most of the stuff is on the website. I'll just go over a couple notes and stuff here and there, make sure everybody's aware. A couple things did change. Depending on when you signed up for Elephant Mountain, we adjusted some of the start times. We've had to do this with most of our races this year just because A, with wave starts, it spreads out our field a lot more, and B, we're trying to minimize passing and head-on traffic and stuff like that. So we've adjusted some time. So for example, the 6K now runs before the 12K, and the 12K is the last group to leave out of the 6 distances. So make sure you take a look at all that stuff and information. So we'll start with the 6 a.m. start of the 50 milers. We'll do wave starts for everybody. So the wave starts, if you haven't run with us, pretty simple. We try to keep it as low key as possible. So I think there'll be 15 people max in your group. And with those 15, everybody's masked up. You have to take a wellness check, so you get your no-touch temperature taken, and then you go into a starting corral. We'll count you down, and then you head on your way. Also at our races, we've started doing a separate start line from finish line to keep it separate so there's not people coming and going. You'll head out on your trail, about 15 of you, and then you have time, you can pass, and that way it's not crowded, and it helps with the arrival process, keeping people more spread out and everything else, and not a lot of people hanging out at the start line. Try to make people as comfortable as possible, yet still have a good time running our races. So that's at 6 a.m. 50 milers. You're going to need a headlamp if you haven't been running early in the morning. It doesn't get light out until just before 7. You'll start to be okay without a light. So same thing, the 50K runners, you normally start at sunrise. This year we moved you up to 6:30, so you probably will want a headlamp at least the first couple waves. Your judgment call, but just a heads up on that. The other thing I want to mention is the COVID in general. We have lots of guidelines and safety measures that we've implemented that is allowing us to race in person, and we need everybody to abide by those rules and do your part going along with what we need to do to stay safe and to stay racing in person. So that includes you're masked up all the time when you're with us, socially distancing, minimizing contact points. So like at aid stations, there's not bowls of M&Ms and stuff now. Everything's pretty much single serving and or prepackaged. So you'll just get it and go. I'll go more into aid stations in a bit, but the COVID thing is important. We all know the deal, and we just need everybody to kind of help us out with that. You don't have to run with a mask on, but keep in mind, if you're in a group of people and maybe put your face covering up, or same thing at an aid station, we want you to put your mask up at each aid station so that, we're keeping the volunteers and staff safe as well as you. Keep that in mind. We appreciate your guys' cooperation with that, and, hopefully we're looking at the latter end of this and we can keep going without it. For now, that's what we have to do. So a couple other things with those starts is the parking. So there's an immediate parking lot that is at Ramada's 2 and 3. It's like group picnic area 2 and 3, I think it's called. So we have that lot. It's not very big, maybe 80 spots. And then you will have signage, but you can continue straight and then go on this Tonalite Drive loop, and that's just past the start-finish line. And then there's parking kind of spread throughout there, this whole drive. And then there's also a little horse parking area. And we can park in there, we just can't take it all. We got to leave space because it is a Saturday and there's definitely a lot of horse traffic up there. Keep that in mind. What will happen this year, even with the spread out starts, is we will have to park on the road. So eventually people will have to park on the road. It's super important, if you are one of those people, to do that, to make sure you are off the roadway when you park. We can't block the roadway especially for emergency traffic and stuff like that. So just be courteous of that. Most of you that will have to do that will be there in the day and make it a little bit easier to tell how much room you have on the shoulder and stuff. But just keep that in mind for parking. Other thing is we cannot park in the nature center. They're very adamant about that. It's a really great little nature center, but no parking for the race. We'll have it blocked off early in the morning, but as people kind of come that are not affiliated with the race, that will open. Cannot park there. So that's the only kind of restriction on parking for us. $7 to get in, same as always. And you just pay that at the entrance. If you have cash, have it ready to speed it up, because that stuff does take time and there's only 1 or 2 people that can kind of help at each gate. So all of this kind of, adds up to your arrival time. You might get there in a certain amount of time. Think about the line, getting in, and then also parking. If you can't park right in our lot, it'll take you a couple extra minutes. It's not a far walk at all to the start line, but it does add a few minutes. Crews and pacers, drop bags, those are some other things that have changed. It's all updated on the website. Crews/spectators, we've been restricting those quite a bit this year. Like shorter distances, we have no spectators at the start or finish. We're trying to really avoid just kind of people hanging out, and that's something that we love about our races, is that people come and they just want to hang out and see their friends or family finish, and we get it. It's not that fun when you have to finish by yourself or just with other runners. But for now, and especially at this park, our staging area, the headquarters, if you will, is relatively small. There's not a lot of room. We're based right out of a permanent ramada there, so there's not a lot of space to kind of spread out. There is like a cement pad in between these 2 ramadas. But even so, most people want to be at the finish line, which is pretty crowded. So we're just no spectators for the shorter distances. And then later on, as the day goes on, when our 50K, 50-mile runners are finishing, you can have a crew there, because the 50K will come into the finish before you go back out and run the 12K loop. So at that point, most of the early shorter distances have left, and there's not as many people there, and it's certainly a lot less people running the ultras than the shorter distances. So the 2 longer distance ones is okay. The 50 milers, once you leave, we don't see you again until you finish. So it's a pretty awesome course. 50K, you will come in after that, say about 40K, 38K, and then you'll go back out for that final 12. So just want to be clear on that. We're just trying to really minimize the amount of people kind of hanging out, and we appreciate you guys' cooperation. And again, hopefully we can get away from that eventually, but for now, that's where we're at. Crews at remote aids, you can go to Spur Cross. There's a parking lot there. It's easy to get to, and there's a fee. You just go in. I think it's like $2 or $3. It's a pedestrian fee. Then you walk down, and then a quarter mile up is where our aid station is, and the runners will come to you. 50 milers will continue north and then come back that way. 35K, 50K, you both just turn around there. That's a spot. Also Seven Springs, which is 50 mile only. You can go there and crew up there. It is a far drive in the middle of nowhere, and there's a small parking lot there. There's also no service, so something else to consider. If you go up there, you won't really be able to track a runner or anything. You might be sitting there for a while or hiking or whatever. There's plenty of great trails up there too. It's kind of an amazing spot, Seven Springs. You can have a crew there. You can have a crew at Spur Cross, and same for pacers for the 50 miler. You can have a pacer at each. Just keep in mind, you're going to need to get dropped off most likely, because especially at Seven Springs, otherwise your car is going to be an hour from the start line. Spur Cross is a little bit closer, still 25 minutes from the start, so something to keep in mind, and we aren't able to assist with that for pacers. Make sure you guys have that figured out before you come into the race. Other changes with that, so in the past we've allowed 50K runners to have a pacer on that final 12K. We are not allowing that now. So with the addition of the 50 miler, there's more people there now. We're just trying to minimize that. So no pacers for the 50K. The only distance that has a pacer is the 50 milers. Okay. So nobody else has a pacer, and that's that. So online, I've updated the cutoff. So we basically just moved everything back half an hour from last year. That accounts for the final wave of the 50 miler. So everything falls in front of that. So all the times posted are the accurate times. So if you're in the back of the pack, you have to be, for example, there's an early cutoff right away at Spur Cross. I think it's 9:30 a.m. and it's only 10.5 miles in. So you get about 3 hours to get there, a little over 3 hours to do those 10 miles. But that one's important because it's early on, so you don't want to go too slow right away. The next section is slower going, for sure, for the 50 milers. So that's Trail 4 taking you all the way to Seven Springs. It's awesome. Super, really, really cool. And it's backcountry, and it's rugged, and There's river crossings, like I said. It's just a really, really great loop. We're super excited to have more people out there and get to experience it this year. Keep that in mind. So that first cutoff, it sounds really early, and it would be a bummer to cut you at 10.5 miles, but that next stretch puts you, it's a 26-mile loop about, give or take. So by the time you get back to Spur Cross, you've already done 36.5 miles. The goal is to keep people out of that national forest area in the daylight. So this year you might come back just around the dark. It'll be a little bit dark at the end, so that's something to consider too. If you're the back of the pack, you may need to have a light for when you return. So technically you're going to be starting with a light anyway, would be my assumption. So maybe just keep it on you, and that way you don't have to worry about remembering in a drop bag or something where it is. And you don't want to get stuck out there without a light if you are in the back there. Something to think about there, but just keep an eye on those cutoffs, and those are for leaving the aid station, okay? 50K, in the past we've had cutoffs for you. I took those off, so we don't really need it. You guys can go out, have fun, do your thing. And now with the 50 miler, it's the same aid station, so nothing changes there. So you get a little extra time if you need more than the 9 hours. And you're welcome. Drop bags was another thing we changed. So in the past, 35K runners had a drop bag at Spur Cross. That will no longer be possible. So no drop bags for the 35K. With the spread out in times, race times and stuff, it would be too difficult to get each drop bag distance out there in time for those runners. So no 35K drop bag. 50K can still have it, and the 50 mile will still have theirs. Spur Cross, you hit it twice, obviously. We'll do our best to get those drop bags back from Spur Cross, especially you 50K runners. It's something to consider. So it's only mile, I think it's 11 when you get there if you're doing the 50K, but you might not get your drop bag back until 6 p.m. or something. So think about that if you need a drop bag or not in the 50K. If you plan on being done at, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you might have to wait for your bag, or we'll have to figure out some sort of transportation. When you get to an aid station and you're done there, always ask the aid station volunteers where the used drop bag section is, and they'll get you. That kind of expedites it. So at least if somebody goes there for a resupply or something else, they can bring those bags back because they know that runner's finished. So keep that in mind with the drop bags, or if you need it at all in the 50K. I think that's it for the drop bags, crews, pacers, spectators. Like I said, all of this is online. One other thing I want to touch on really quick, I guess you would call it trail etiquette. Everybody's normally super good about this, but under no circumstances is it cool or okay to yell at a volunteer or staff person when you're on course. If you're frustrated about getting off course or something and you're yelling about this and that and everything, they're there to help you as best they can, but it's your job as a runner to know your course and to know where you need to go and everything else. So we do as much as we can prior to the race to make sure you're prepared, and then we do everything we can to mark it as best we can with our ribbons and signs and everything. But it is not the volunteer's fault if you get lost or if you mess up or something like that. So they're there to support you, but they're not there to be your punching bag either. So please be cool to the volunteers, thank them. Like I said, 99% of you always do that, and I'm just putting it out there because we've had a few instances recently where runners are frustrated about something and then they take it out on the volunteers, and it's just not cool. And we have the right to DQ you if we get word of that. So just keep that in mind. Just be cool. Hey, we're having fun, right? We're trail running. Things happen, extra miles happen, stuff like that. We have MedStar Solutions. They're out there every race with us. They've now been with us for over 3 years. They understand our races, our courses, our runners. They are a great resource. If you do fall and get hurt, they can clean you up before you head out. There's a number online that is there, basically like a hotline. It's 24-hour service. So if something happens, say you get out by Rogers Creek in the middle of nowhere and somebody goes down, you need call somebody for help, call this number. It's on the website. We'll post it here too. You can call my number too. I will be there the entire race, but MedStar is good because they can usually diffuse almost every situation without having to get search and rescue or like the fire department involved. So we do that first, and then we go up to search and rescue if needed. From there, it helps limit the resources being spent. Like I said, we can usually handle most of the things, and especially on this course, with the exception of that northern loop on the 50 miler, that's pretty remote. Most of the other places are pretty accessible within a little bit of time. If you do have to drop, another thing, you must tell somebody, okay? Very, very important for us because we are waiting for you to come back. So if you leave the course, say at Spur Cross, because you rolled your ankle and your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband picks you up, then we need to know that, because we're going to be waiting for you to come back. And when we don't see a split for a couple hours, we won't know that you've left the course. So if you drop from the race, super important to let somebody know and make sure that they know that you are off the course, no longer running. Timing points, that we have a link on the website. It's just live.aravaiparunning.com. It's gotten more and more reliable. We're hoping to continue that streak, and there's a couple places like Seven Springs is no service, Spurcross is spotty, but we'll do our best to have timing points out there for your friends and family, that is. Course markings, I'll go over some of the things on the course. So like I said before, there are 6 distances in this race, which is quite a few, so it's very, very important that you know your course and you only follow your signs. So at junctions, we'll have signs that look like this. They say your actual distance, 6K, 50 mile, okay? And these colors all match your bib. So with the exception of the 6K, everybody's bib will look kind of like this. So it'll be a yellowish bib, reddish bib, greenish bib, blue for the 12K, and then this bib is white technically with a hawk on it, but I think it has some orange in it, but it's white for that. And then 50 milers are going to have a race distance specific bib this year. These are super important. You only follow your distance signs and do not get duped up with other people, and don't just follow people through junctions. Always look at your sign and make sure you know which way you're going. Again, knowing your course. Very, very important. There's a couple points specifically, people always do this on the 12K, the 50K loop 2. You do a 12K loop, but in order to complete your loop, you actually will leave the regional park. You run out of the regional park on the Maricopa Trail, and you kind of go through this washy area. You're up on like single track, kind of going back and forth around it. And you will come to an aid station. For the 12K, that's your turnaround point. You have to hit that aid station or you will not finish the race. You're gonna come straight up here, and then this is gonna be coming downhill on Gojon, but you have to leave the park. So make sure you do this. Oh, I've had people every year, they'll come through and just bomb straight down. They miss this. It's only like a half a mile, maybe, each way, but that is part of the course. That is your aid station. That is your turnaround point. There's a timing point there. You can't just do this, okay? That's not how you complete it. You got to leave the park. You'll go over a horse gate, come right back in, and then continue to the left and do this loop, which is super fun. Gojon loop back down through Slade to the finish. 12K and 50K loop 2. Make sure you do this. Very, very important. You've been warned. It's all over the website. It's everywhere. Please make sure you are looking at the signs and following your signs. Everybody turns there, so there's no reason to go straight. Everybody turns there. So you won't see anybody going straight, but I need you to pay attention and make sure that you have a successful race. These are our ribbons. We use these ribbons at every race. You'll probably hear me say this 60 times this weekend at wave starts. Orange and black polka dot ribbons are the correct way. Most of these ribbons in certain areas, not most of them, but some of them will have reflective medallions on them. So they'll just be dangling from a tree and it'll be like a diamond. That reflects off your headlamp, makes it easier to see at night. That is the correct way. Blue and white checker is the wrong way. Blue and white checker is the wrong way ribbon. Turn around, get back on track, and find that orange and black polka dot. There will also be points on course where we have these little pin flags. They stick into the ground. They say Aravaipa running on them, and they have little reflective medallions as well. So these are helpful like out on Trail 4 or out by Rogers Creek. And there's a couple road crossings now where they're building a development up near Rogers Creek. A paved road now, I guess 3 times you would cross it kind of on the out and back motion there. On the awards, 50 milers, you will get an award that looks like this or similar to this. The color might be a little different. We updated it for this year. This was technically... Actually, this is Jamil's from last year when he ran the first year. And on that note, we're doing custom engraving again. We started to do that. Louie's been coming out on site. So your award normally won't have this. You probably can't see it zoomed in, but it says Jamil Curry and then has his finish time here. Louie does it on site. So when you finish, you can get your name, distance, whatever you want on here. And it's like $10, I think. Takes just a couple minutes. You can do it. And actually, we're doing pre-orders. So if you want to do this in advance, you can pre-order your $10 and then he can have some of the templates set up and ready to go at the race. So this is 50 mile only. This is what your 50 mile finisher award looks like. Pretty sweet. Custom engraving on that. This is the medal for everybody else. This medal is new this year. We have glassware as well from last year. So if you like the glasses, I think I have 80-ish or so. So there'll be enough for a good amount of you. Otherwise, you get this cool medal. That artwork's made right in-house. And then same thing on the back, you can get your event custom engraved. So this one says person's name, the distance, and the time right on the back there. And just kind of a nice memento. Then you remember kind of exactly what happened there. So, because this is every distance but the 50 miler. So it's kind of nice to remind you what distance you ran at that point. Thank you for sitting through the race briefing, and hopefully it was helpful for you. And just remember, we're out there to have a good time. We're all being courteous of each other and cheer each other on. And you guys are impressive running 50 miles, 50K. If this is your first 6K ever trail run, super exciting. You're going to love it. And for every distance in between, just have a great time and make sure you're following your signs to make sure you get to the finish in the right amount of miles. I do think the 12K is a little over 12K, but 3 miles, right? That's how we'll do it. Thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it. We will see you this weekend at Elephant Mountain, and best of luck. We'll see you out there.